in one sense, I'm not so sure it represents an acceleration of what we'd already been seeing. More so, I think it might really illustrate just how much things have already changed. Climate change is making possible what was previously either extremely improbable or perhaps impossible in some cases. And we are seeing a wider range of extremes. The ceiling is rising on how intense many of these kinds of events can become. I don't think 2021 is a fluke. I think we will see increasingly many events like we saw this past year, and then also events that exceed what we saw in 2021. And I think an example is the incredible, really just astonishing heat wave that occurred in the Pacific Northwest and British Columbia in June of 2021, and how that just was so far beyond anything that I think most folks would have thought was physically plausible for a very upper end heat wave, even in the climate change era in that region. And then we end up having Death Valley-like temperatures in the glacial valleys of British Columbia. I mean, that was really just sort of off the rails. But the point there is that there's nothing particularly special about British Columbia in that example, other than it happened to be the place where something like this occurred in 2021. My question is, what is going to happen when we have a similarly anomalous warm season, unprecedented extreme heat event in a populated megacity, in the lower latitudes? What happens if if we have a similarly anomalous heat wave in Delhi prior to the onset of the monsoon, some summer, or perhaps even in some really unexpected place, some really cold place where the absolute temperatures may not be as hot, but society and the ecosystems are even less well adapted to extreme heat. What happens when we sort of transpose this sort of anomaly, which is clearly physically possible because it just happened, and shift the societal or the seasonal context a bit? What does that look like? And the answer is it's pretty alarming. I mean, even if we're talking about resource-rich nations with large, capacity to respond to disasters, having an extreme heat wave that exceeds the all-time high temperature by 5 or 10 degrees, even in a place that's already pretty hot, it's going to cause massive problems. Imagine Phoenix, approaching 135, 138 degrees. It's kind of unthinkable, except that's what it would look like if a similarly extreme heat wave hit some of these regions.